My name is Chloe, and this is the story of a love that once shone brilliantly but eventually dimmed, all because of the unexpected guests who arrived uninvited and overstayed their welcome. Alex and I had a love story that felt like it was plucked straight from the pages of a romance novel. Our wedding day was a dream come true. The sun had bathed the ceremony in a soft, golden light, and the scent of fresh white roses hung in the air. The vows we exchanged were more than words. They were promises etched into our souls. As we danced our first dance together, I couldn't help but feel like the luckiest woman in the world. Our friends and family cheered, celebrating our love. It was a day filled with joy, laughter, and love. We believed that our love could conquer any obstacle life threw our way. But like all stories, ours had its twists and turns. We were blessed with 3 beautiful children, Maya, our eldest, and twins Lily and Leo. I cherished my role as a mother, and even though it was challenging, I loved every moment of it. Alex, on the other hand, was a man who never seemed content with his work. He hopped from one job to another, always searching for something elusive. It was a source of frustration in our otherwise happy life. But I thought we could handle it together. Little did I know that the real challenge we would face wasn't a career crisis, but rather the arrival of 2 unwelcome guests, his parents. One sunny afternoon, I returned home from an exhausting day at work to find our living room occupied by 2 people I had met only a handful of times, Carol and Mike, Alex's parents. They sat on our comfortable couch like they owned the place. "Chloe, darling," Carol greeted me with a saccharine smile. "It's been too long." My heart pounded in my chest as I struggled to process what was happening. "What are you doing here?" I managed to stammer. Alex walked in from the kitchen, holding a tray of tea. He didn't seem surprised by their presence. "Hey, Mom, Dad," he said, a touch too casually. Carol sipped her tea, seemingly unperturbed by my bewilderment. "We're moving in, Chloe. Our house was taken away because of non-payment, and we've decided to take a break from work. It's time for a family reunion." My mind raced, trying to comprehend the situation. They were moving in our home? "Alex," I whispered, pulling him aside. "We can't just let them move in like this. We have 3 kids, and this house isn't big enough for all of us." He hesitated for a moment before replying. "Chloe, they're my parents. I can't just kick them out." "But Alex, we can't afford to support them," I pleaded, my voice quivering with frustration. He sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Let's try to make it work, just for a little while. They're family, after all." I felt a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach as I realized that I had no choice but to accept this unexpected turn of events. Little did I know that their arrival was just the beginning of a tumultuous chapter in our lives. The days that followed were a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. Our once peaceful home became a battleground of emotions, and I found myself struggling to maintain my sanity as I navigated this unexpected invasion. Carol and Mike seemed to have settled in without a second thought. They occupied the spare bedroom on the ground floor, which I had originally set up as my home office. Their presence in my workspace made it impossible for me to focus on my work, and it quickly became clear that my online business would suffer. One morning, as I attempted to answer emails and manage orders, Mike strolled into the room, a bemused expression on his face. "Chloe, dear," he said in a condescending tone, "have you ever considered that you might be spending too much time on this little business of yours?" I gritted my teeth, trying to maintain my composure. "Mike, I need to work to support our family. You know that." He shrugged nonchalantly. "Well, I'm sure you can find some other way to contribute." I glanced at my computer screen, my frustration mounting. How could he be so dismissive of something that was vital to our financial stability? But I knew that arguing with him would be futile, so I simply nodded and forced a smile. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself shouldering an increasing burden. I was not only the breadwinner, but also the primary caregiver for our 3 children. Alex, in contrast, seemed to distance himself from the chaos that had engulfed our home. He'd come home from work and spend hours in his private study, leaving me to handle the children's needs, household chores, and the unwelcome guests. One evening, after putting the kids to bed and cleaning up the kitchen, I confronted Alex in his study. "Alex, this can't go on like this," I said firmly. "I'm drowning in responsibilities, and I can't do it all alone." He looked up from his laptop, his face a mask of indifference. "Chloe, you're strong. You can handle it." Tears welled up in my eyes, a mixture of frustration and sadness. "Alex, I didn't sign up for this. We need to find a solution. We can't keep living like this." He sighed, finally acknowledging the strain I was under. "Okay, we'll talk to my parents. We'll find a way to make this work." The next morning, I approached Carol and Mike with a glimmer of hope. I was wondering if you could help out a bit more, I began tentatively. Taking care of the kids, maybe helping with the household chores. Carol exchanged a knowing look with Mike, and I braced myself for their response. We're retired, Chloe, Mike replied dismissively. We're not here to babysit or clean. That's your job. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The audacity of their entitlement left me speechless. I was trapped in a nightmare where my home was no longer my sanctuary, but a battleground where my cries for help fell on deaf ears. With each passing day, my resentment grew and my desperation deepened. I had to find a way out of this situation for the sake of my sanity and the well-being of my children. But little did I know that a shocking discovery in the weeks to come would push me to take matters into my own hands, changing the course of our lives forever. With my in-laws, Carol and Mike, firmly ensconced in our home, each day felt like a never-ending battle against chaos and frustration. Their presence hung over our family like a dark cloud, and I couldn't help but resent how they had disrupted the life we had built together. My role as a mother had always been a demanding one, but with the added responsibility of providing for our family and managing our household alone, I felt overwhelmed. The twins, Lily and Leo, were still in their infancy, and Maya, our eldest, required attention and guidance. It seemed like I was always juggling bottles, diapers, and the needs of 3 little ones. One morning, as I prepared breakfast for the children, I called out to Alex, who was engrossed in his phone. Alex, can you please help me with Mia? He glanced up briefly before returning to his screen. I'm busy right now, Chloe. You've got it. My frustration boiled over. Alex, I can't do this all by myself. I need your support. He sighed, clearly irritated. Fine, I'll help. But even when Alex did lend a hand, it was clear that his heart wasn't in it. He was distant, preoccupied with his own thoughts, and seemed to retreat to his private study at every opportunity. One evening, after putting the children to bed and tidying up the house, I confronted Alex once more. We can't keep living like this, I said, my voice trembling with exhaustion and frustration. You're their son, but you're also my husband. You need to be here for us. He looked at me with a wariness that mirrored my own. Chloe, I don't know what to do. They're my parents, and I can't just kick them out. Tears welled up in my eyes as I tried to convey the desperation I felt. I'm at my breaking point, Alex. We need to find a solution. We can't let our family crumble because of this. Alex finally seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. Okay, he said, his voice softer. I'll talk to my parents. We'll figure something out. With a glimmer of hope, I approached Carol and Mike the next day, my heart pounding with anticipation. I was wondering if you could help out a bit more, I began, trying to keep my tone polite. Taking care of the kids, maybe helping with the household chores. Carol exchanged a knowing look with Mike, her lips curling into a patronizing smile. I steeled myself for their response. We're retired, Chloe, Mike replied dismissively. We're not here to babysit or clean. That's your job. The weight of their words crushed my spirit. I had hoped for understanding and support, but instead, I received indifference and entitlement. It was as if my pleas for help fell on deaf ears, and I felt trapped in a nightmare that had no end. As the days turned into weeks, my resentment festered, and I began to question how I had ended up in this situation. Our once happy home had become a battleground where my cries for help went unanswered, and I couldn't continue living like this. Little did I know that a shocking discovery in the weeks to come would push me to take matters into my own hands, changing the course of our lives forever. As the weeks passed with Carol and Mike's unwelcome presence in our home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. It was as if there were secrets lurking beneath the surface, hidden in the shadows of their strange behavior. Little did I know that a shocking discovery would shatter any illusions I had left about their intentions. One mundane afternoon, while the twins napped and Maya was at school, I decided to tackle the daunting task of cleaning the house. It felt like an endless chore, made even more overwhelming by the constant tension in the air. As I made my way through the various rooms, dusting and tidying, I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of frustration. The burden of managing the household and caring for the children weighed heavily on my shoulders, and the presence of our unhelpful guests only exacerbated my stress. Eventually, my cleaning duties led me to Carol and Mike's room. I hesitated for a moment, debating whether or not to enter. Something about their room had always felt off to me, and curiosity got the better of me that day. With a deep breath, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn tightly shut. The air was heavy with an unusual, acrid scent. As I made my way towards Carol's nightstand, my heart pounded in my chest. And there, in the drawer, I found it, an unmistakable plastic bag filled with small white powder. My heart froze as I realized what I was looking at. Drugs. For a moment, I considered confronting them immediately, but fear held me back. I couldn't risk a confrontation turning violent, especially with my children in the house. Instead, I carefully replaced the bag exactly where I'd found it and made a quick exit, my mind racing with a mixture of shock and anger. That evening, as I sat at the dinner table with my family, I couldn't shake the knowledge of what I had discovered. The normalcy of our meal felt surreal in light of the secret I now harbored. I decided to confide in my brother, Mark, who happened to be a police officer. I knew he would know how to handle the situation safely and discreetly. After all, my main concern was the safety of my children. "Mark," I began cautiously when I called him that night, "I need your help with something. It's about Alex's parents." He listened attentively as I recounted the strange turn of events, the arrival of Carol and Mike, and the shocking discovery of drugs in their room. Mark's voice was calm and reassuring. "You did the right thing, Chloe," he said. "I'll come over tomorrow and we'll handle this together. Your children's safety is paramount." With the weight of my secret now shared with someone I trusted, I felt a glimmer of hope that we could finally resolve the nightmare that had befallen our family. Little did I know that confronting Carol and Mike would unleash a series of events that would forever alter the course of our lives, ultimately leading to a decision that would test the strength of our love and the bonds of our family. The discovery of drugs in my in-laws' room had set in motion a chain of events that would lead to a turning point in our tumultuous family saga. As the days passed, I grappled with the weight of my secret, knowing that the safety of my children depended on the actions I would soon take. With the support of my brother, Mark, a police officer, we formulated a plan to confront Carol and Mike about the drugs discreetly. Mark assured me that we would prioritize the safety of the children and avoid any confrontations that could escalate into violence. One evening, while Alex was at work, I invited Carol and Mike into the living room for a private conversation. Anxiety gnawed at my insides as I began to speak, choosing my words carefully. "Carol, Mike, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. They exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "What is it, Chloe?" Carol asked, her tone guarded. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. "I couldn't help but notice something strange in your room the other day." Mike raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" I decided to be direct. "I found drugs in your nightstand." Their faces paled, and for a moment, there was silence. Then, Carol burst into tears. "Chloe, we're so sorry. It's not what you think." Mike's expression shifted from shock to anger. "You had no right to snoop around in our room." I held my ground, my determination unwavering. I had to protect my children. I couldn't ignore something like this. Mark stepped in, his presence a calming influence in the escalating tension. "Let's all take a step back and talk this through calmly," he suggested. Carol wiped away her tears and composed herself. "It's true," she admitted. "We've been struggling with addiction for a while now. We didn't want you to find out." Mike's anger seemed to dissipate, replaced by a sense of resignation. "We lost our house because we couldn't keep up with our debts. The stress drove us to this." I couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy. Even in the midst of my anger and frustration, addiction was a powerful force, and I knew that it could devastate families. Mark took charge of the situation, offering them guidance on seeking help for their addiction. "You need to get professional assistance, and we can help you find the right resources." As the conversation continued, it became clear that Carol and Mike were not the villains I had initially perceived them to be. They were victims of their own demons, struggling with addiction in silence. In the weeks that followed, they entered a rehabilitation program, determined to overcome their addiction and rebuild their lives. It was a long and challenging journey, but they made progress. But the revelation had taken its toll on our family. Alex, torn between his loyalty to his parents and the well-being of our children, could not forgive me for exposing their secret. The strain on our marriage became too much to bear. One evening, as we sat in our now quiet living room, Alex turned to me with a heavy heart. "Chloe, I can't move past this. I need to be with my parents during this time." Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized what he was saying. "Are you asking for a divorce?" He nodded, his eyes filled with sorrow. "I'm so sorry, Chloe." And with those words, our love story came to an end. Our once happy family was forever changed, and I was left to navigate the challenging path of single motherhood. In the aftermath, I focused on rebuilding my life with my children. Carol and Mike continued their journey toward recovery, and while we didn't reconcile, I hoped they would find the strength to overcome their addiction and heal their relationship with their son. The turning point had come, and with it, the realization that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones we must make for the sake of our own well-being and the safety of our children. The bonds of family had been tested, and while they had been strained, they had not broken entirely. The story of Chloe continued, a tale of resilience, love, and the unshakable strength of a mother determined to provide a better future for her children, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. The aftermath of the tumultuous events that had unfolded in our lives was a landscape of change and uncertainty. With Carol and Mike, my in-laws, facing their addiction head on and my marriage to Alex ending in divorce, I embarked on a new chapter as a single mother, determined to provide a stable and loving environment for my children. The first few weeks after the divorce were the most challenging. Adjusting to life as a single mother was no small feat. Juggling the responsibilities of work, childcare, and managing the household became my daily routine. It was a struggle, but it was also a testament to my strength and determination. The children, Maya, Lily, and Leo, sensed the tension that had permeated our home for so long, and it was a relief to see them slowly returning to their carefree, joyful selves. Their laughter became the soundtrack of our new life together, a reminder that happiness was still within reach. As the days turned into months, I began to rebuild my career, focusing on my online business. It was a lifeline, not only for our financial stability, but also for my sense of purpose and independence. The support of my loyal customers and the success of my business became a source of pride and motivation. My relationship with Carol and Mike remained strained, though. While they were making progress in their recovery, the wounds inflicted by their addiction and the subsequent fallout were slow to heal. We communicated through occasional phone calls and emails, but the closeness we once shared had been forever altered. One evening, I received a call from Carol. Her voice was shaky, and I could hear the vulnerability in her words. "Chloe, I just wanted to apologize again for everything we put you through." I sighed, my own feelings of hurt and betrayal resurfacing. "Carol, what happened was incredibly difficult for all of us, but I hope you're committed to your recovery." She nodded, even though I couldn't see her. "We are, Chloe, and we hope that someday we can rebuild our relationship with you and the kids." Despite the challenges we had faced, life had its way of moving forward. The children continued to grow, and their resilience inspired me every day. I made sure they had a stable home filled with love and support, and we created new traditions together. One particularly bright day, Maya approached me with a drawing she had made. It depicted our family, just the four of us, holding hands and smiling. Her innocence and optimism were a reminder that despite the scars of the past, we had a future full of possibilities. As the years passed, I watched my children blossom into remarkable individuals, each with their unique talents and dreams. Maya excelled academically and aspired to be a writer, like her mother. Lily was a talented artist, and Leo had boundless curiosity about the world. And me, I had learned that strength could be found in vulnerability, and that resilience was born out of adversity. My online business continued to thrive, providing not just financial stability, but also a sense of purpose and fulfillment. As I closed the chapter on that tumultuous period in my life, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought me to where I was. Our family had been tested, and while it had been battered, it had not been broken. We had emerged from the wreckage stronger, wiser, and closer than ever.